have you ever thought about detoxing your tackle box? I bet you're probably taking too much. Do you really need 5 different types of hook link just to catch a carp? Now, over the years, I've accumulated a lot of tackle. So how have I gone from this to this? Right, I'm going to share some of my dirty secrets now. This massive box was actually given to me by a guest, and it's more for kind of archive purposes, and I use some of this for filming. Yes, there are a dozen different hook link materials, loads of different hooks from all sorts of manufacturers that I've tested over the years, loads of old rig tools, more hook link down there, loads and loads of hooks that I used to use. Now for me, that's an archive box. That's just stuff that I've acquired. But I see plenty of anglers whose tackle box actually look like that, are that big, and they're taking it all with them to go fishing. It's just too complicated. There's far too many options available, and that's going to confuse you as an angler. It stops you being able to focus. So you don't need most of that. The next smallest tackle size box that I've got is this one. It's the Subterfuge XL work box, and I used to take it fishing with me, but to be honest, it's just too large, too bulky. This lot weighs an absolute ton. You know, I pick it up here and it's a good couple of kilos. You know, the built-in rig tray, very useful, but unless you put everything on top of it to start with, when you flip it up, it all goes on the deck. So that doesn't really work for me, unfortunately. So what does my tackle box look like today? Well, it's that. You could probably fit 4 of those in the same space as that big old one. So this is the water box. It's the 125 model, and everything that I need to catch a carp goes in there, and I really don't need anything else. In this top section here, I've got some rig boards. Now, these things only cost €1 down the local tackle shop. Very popular with sea anglers and coarse anglers, and they make absolutely fantastic little rig boards to go inside the top lid of a little water box like that. Now, I've got that stuff full of tools. You don't need to carry all of those tools. I can probably lose that one because I've got my knife now that fits in there. So, but yeah, a few different needles, hone, scissors, rig puller, and a little utility knife, little nut drill there. And on the flip side, I've got hooks, blowback tubes, bore beads, some run rings, some anti-tangle sleeves, and yeah, these are where I'll keep all my hooks. So I'm always banging on about change your hooks, change your hooks, change your hooks. Well, yeah, that's why I'll carry at least 3 packs of hooks in there so that I never run out. Other essential rig tools would be my little butane lighter here, and absolutely fantastic piece of kit. Again, just a £5 from the local DIY shop. Hook vise, never leave home without that. Pair of forceps. Hook file, now this one's very rusty, and this is why I bought myself a new one. In here, that's where I keep my old blunt hooks. In here, I've reorganised this so that that's everything I need to make up a lead system. So I've got all the little components in there. So rather than having individual boxes, I've just lumped all the lead system components in there. And that I've just dedicated to micro swivels. Other essential things for me, just some fast melt tape. This is the narrow one, absolutely brilliant for making up little stringers and stuff. If you want to save yourself some money on PVA this year, just move over to stringers rather than using PVA mesh, because if you use a lot of PVA mesh, it can get expensive. Hook loop, can't go fishing without one of them. Bit of hook grease is much better than Vaseline. It's thicker, it's more viscous than Vaseline, and if you sharpened up a hook, then you really ought to be wiping on a bit of hook grease to keep it rust free. Yeah, because hooks do go blunt in the water overnight if you don't protect them. So important piece of kit. Bit of bait floss, always need that from time to time, especially if I'm doing a snowman rig or something. Most of my fishing nowadays is done with mono snag leader, a £30 version and a £40 version. Sometimes if I know I'm doing fishing of a certain type, then I might just take a spool main line with me. That's the Armour line in 15 pound 0.35. That goes in there and I can still fit the whole kit together and close the lid, no problem. So if the sort of fishing that you're doing only requires basic 15 pound hook link, and you can do an awful lot of fishing with, you know, just the main line that you've got on your reel, then that's all you need for hook link. You don't need anything else. So if I need to make up a supple rig, then I only need to carry one type of hook link with me, and that would be a supple braid like the Armour link, either 25 pound or 35 pound. Brilliant for simple multi rigs or any other kind of supple rig presentation. So to build this box, that goes in there, that goes in there, that all kind of nest together really. Vice goes in there, file goes in there, forceps goes in there, hook grease goes down there, water box organiser, doesn't really matter which way I stick it up, stick that in there, bung my lighter in, stick that on there if I wanted to, and there we go. And that's all I need to go fishing just about anywhere really. I can go to a load of different types of waters and create a simple range of rigs that are always going to work and always going to catch me a carp. It is important to keep it organised. If you're used to just kind of buying stuff and sticking it in your tackle box, then something like that is going to quickly get overrun and become utterly useless. So even with a relatively limited selection of bits, I can create quite a lot of rigs. If I've got some Armour link and I've got regular size 6 twisters, then I can tie a slip D. I can tie just a regular hair rig. If I take a pack of shod twisters and partner it with some 30 pound mono, then I can make a mono hair rig, I can make a mono D rig. Simple solid rigs that just keep on working time after time wherever I go fishing. I make my leaders with this material, so if I'm fishing a big reservoir, then 0.50 leader makes a brilliant leader material. I find these blowback tubes really useful because they're fantastic for making my deadly D rig. I can also use them to make a mono hair rig, and that's very suitable when you're using lightweight 0.35 mono. If I'm using heavier mono, then I actually prefer a bigger bead like the 3mm ball bead. You can use a hook bead as well, anything like that will do. If I wanted to make a blowback multi, then I'd just take some Armour link, pack of shod twisters and some little blowback tubes again. It's a super popular rig with guests because it just means that they can chop and change the hooks every cast if necessary to keep on fishing very effectively. Due to the size restrictions of the 125 water box, I can only actually fit 3 of these little Box Logic boxes in there at one time, so I tend to kind of swap these out. This is one full of little micro swivels. If I'm doing my bait loop rig, then I'll need that, but if I'm fishing with my mono rigs, then I'm going to need a load of short anti-tangle sleeves and a load of bait screws, maybe some tungsten sinkers on there. So that kit is all locked and loaded, ready, organised for there, and then that plus my lead system bits, and that's where I cast off my kind of reject hooks and dead sinkers, dead blowback tubes in there. That's a miniature recycling box. When it goes in there, it's either for inspection, resharpening. If it's dead, then it's in the bin job. If I'm fishing super long range, then I'd probably take some of these extra long tungsten sleeves with me just for extra tangle resistance. Now, the one thing I haven't mentioned at all is leads, and obviously we need a few leads to go fishing. And what I tend to do, I tend to keep my leads organised in old pop-up boxes basically. So these are just some 3.5 ounce distance leads. I've got some back leads in that one, so I could put that in there. I've got some dumpy pairs in that one. So I can just swap these boxes out like that. If I need to take pop-ups with me, then I'll take one pot of pop-ups with me. You do not need to travel with 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 pots of pop-ups. Pick a pop-up, use the pop-up. Don't tend to fish pop-ups on their own, but I do make little snowman rigs up. So if I'm going to a big park lake and I want to fish pop-ups, then I'll take a pot of them, and then I'd need my distance leads as well. And because I'm fishing with a running rig, I'm not dumping the lead, so I don't need to travel with 20 leads. 4 leads, 5 leads, I occasionally lose one if something goes horribly wrong, but basically 5 leads is all I need to go fishing. I have a separate little pouch for my inlines and just keep these together like that. Probably use some of these this winter. Quite like an inline for dropping from a boat or dropping out the bushwhacker. But I'm not travelling with these everywhere I go because inlines just aren't appropriate to my public lake fishing, so I don't take them with me. Traditionally, rig boxes would look like this. This is one of my very old ones. There's not much in this nowadays. I've got that one as well. That's a load of multi-rigs. I keep this one just for spares, really. Occasionally I have to make up a rig for guests, so I'll put them in there, and so they've got them to use for the week. But these are bulky. These take up a huge amount of space. You know, I've got this thinner one here, and there's a few bits and pieces in here. Used to take this fishing with me, but it's quite large, it's quite bulky. So last year I moved over to these little rig boards, and I just make up a selection of rigs for different things, and then I decide, well, you know, which venue am I going to, what sort of rig am I going to need, and then slide it in the tackle box. And I don't need to take a separate rig box. I've got my rigs, they're all there, they're all ready to rock, they've all got sharp hooks on them. Chop and change as I go along, just keeps it simple, compact and organised. On the bait front, I don't tend to need to travel with much bait. That's quite a decent way of doing it. If you just want some hook baits and some pellets to go in a PVA mesh bag, put the two together. The pellets are going to help harden up and dry up the hook baits anyway, so those have been in there a few months and are, you know, absolutely golf ball hard. Which is exactly what I'm looking for in a robust hook bait, especially when there's bream about. Mix everything together. There is absolutely no issues with doing that. Nice little box of bait, doesn't weigh much, doesn't take up much space. Easy. So if you want to sort your tackle box out this January, then what I would do is, first of all, take everything out. I mean, clear it, clean it, put it all out on a table, and then only put back in what you actually need for the target water that you're going to start on this year. Pick one rig and use that rig for all of your fishing. Stop chopping and changing. It's the chopping and changes that is messing you up. Commit to the mono hair or the mono D. Tie a load up, change them when you need, focus on hook sharpness, and that will free your mind to concentrate on what actually matters. Where are the carp? Which swim should you be in? By simplifying your approach, you don't need to take anywhere near the amount, volume, weight of stuff that you're taking. So you'll make yourself a more compact, more mobile angler that can focus on putting themselves on the fish. And putting yourself on the fish is the most important thing, apart from a sharp hook, of course. Carp angling is all about confidence, but it's no good just waking up in the morning and saying, I'm going to be really confident with my angling today, if there's nothing behind it. You have to know, you have to believe in every fibre of your body that what you're doing is going to work. And by limiting the amount of decisions that you can make, this is a great way of building confidence, because if you only have a couple of rigs to choose from and that's what you're using for all your fishing, when it does work, you'll get confident in that approach. And if that approach is a simple stripped down rig like the mono hair or the mono D, you'll start to understand that, I don't need anything else than that. This works, it's all you need, just use it, catch carp. And then you take that robust, solid approach to water after water after water, and you start to learn it really does work wherever you go. So by stripping down your tackle box, it's a way of accelerating the rate at which you can build confidence in your angling. And real confidence, actual robust confidence, is fundamental. So detox your tackle box is the best thing that you can do for your 2025 season.